Ohio State is trending in the wrong direction at the worst possible time, and their NC2A tournament hopes are starting to slip.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to this bonus episode of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the number one sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And during this hardwood huddle, we will discuss what it means for Bruce Thornton's legacy if he doesn't make the tournament this year. But before we get to any of that, the belief at the beginning of the season and the one goal this team had was to find a way to get to the NCAA tournament. That should be an expected goal of any Buckeye basketball team, men or women. But the men's team has been struggling to get there. The final days of Chris Holtmann, you weren't getting there, though his last year was something nobody ever thought would become a reality. Jake Diebler last year, the Buckeyes were close, but didn't get into the field of 68. And I have a hard time believing right now they're going to make it this year. The record is 14-7. They're coming off of a loss over the weekend to Wisconsin. It was a 10-point loss. Final score 92-82. The Buckeyes have won 3 of their last 5 games. And so it's not like they're not finding ways to win. Recently, winning 3 of your last 5, that's a good mark. That's a good sign. But throughout the rest of the season, this schedule is pretty difficult. Maryland's Cup, you have to go to Maryland on Thursday night. That could be a toss-up game there. Home against Michigan on February 8th on Super Bowl Sunday. I don't see the Buckeyes beating the Wolverines that day. As much as I want them to beat and take down the enemy, I don't see that one happening. You have a home game against USC. You're going to Nashville to play Virginia, the number 17 team in the land. Then you have Wisconsin, Michigan State, Iowa, Purdue, Penn State, IU. There are some winnable games in that stretch throughout the rest of their season. The one problem I have with this team is that sometimes they tend to play to the level of their opponent. When they played Michigan, now granted it is a rivalry game, but Michigan's one of the best teams in the country. And Ohio State raised their level of play. They were scratching, they were fighting, they were diving on the floor, giving it all. They laid it all out to try to beat their rival. And Michigan was just too good. And down the stretch, they made more plays, got key stops, and they won the game. But I'm thinking in my head, in that game specifically, if you put this energy and effort into every game, you're going to play and you're going to win more often than not. Now, granted, you're not going to win every game, but you're going to win some games that people don't think you should win. Against Nebraska, that was a home game. You lose by 3. And Nebraska, I believe, was a top 10 team at that point in time. You think Nebraska, as good as they were, Ohio State should lose by 10-plus points because Nebraska is that good. No, Ohio State raised their own level of play. It took them they had to go to overtime to beat Minnesota. Now, the final score was pretty big in an overtime game. You win 82-74. But that game had no business going to overtime. Ohio State sometimes plays with their food on the court, and they don't play to their level. They try to match their opponent, and that, to me, is a big reason why the Buckeyes probably won't make the NCAA tournament. They're 14-7. I'm going to read their schedule off once again, and let me know if you see 6 wins. That's the best way for Ohio State to cement their spot in the field of 68. I know Mike DeCourcy during the broadcast on Saturday said Ohio State was an 11 seed in the tournament. I don't see how he gets there. I don't. Is the rest of the country where Ohio State currently is? I don't know. I don't see how he gets there. The Buckeyes are also 6-5 in conference play, which is not where you want to be heading into February. You don't want to be there at all. Here's your schedule. And let me know in this stretch if you see the Buckeyes getting 6 or more wins throughout the rest of the regular season. At Maryland, home against Michigan, home against USC, a neutral site game in Nashville against Virginia, home against Wisconsin, at Michigan State, at Iowa, home against Purdue, at Penn State, home against IU. Use your brain and use your basketball knowledge and let me know in the comments on this video if you think Ohio State finds a way to get to 20 wins in Big Ten play in the regular season. Because if you do, they're in. I got a hard time seeing it. And it's not that I don't think this team is talented enough. I know Brandon Noel's injury really hurt this team, and Christoph Tilly not being the big man you need him to be hurt the team. He also missed a couple of games too, so he had an injury of his own. I just don't see this team dictating the terms of the game enough to be a team that's getting there. They have Bruce Thornton's he's a potential All-American. He is that kind of dude. John Mobley Jr. has gotten better. Amari Bynum being put into the starting lineup brought life to this team, and it was a great move by Jake Diebler. I just don't think this team has the makings of a tournament team right. Granted, you have another school in Ohio, in Miami of Ohio, who last I checked was 21-0. They just keep finding a way to win. Their last win over the weekend was a very close, hard-fought win. I think it was 3 or 4 points. It was close down to the stretch, but they keep finding a way to win. Where Ohio State, at their level, Miami of Ohio is beating teams at their level. Ohio State is struggling. And part of it is due to the way the roster was put together. Ohio State doesn't have a big man. Their bench, they don't really get a lot of firepower off the bench. They don't get a lot of scoring help off the bench. Those are things that are really hurting the team. The way the roster was put together, yeah, they got guys that can score defensively. Do they always play the best, or do they always play together? I think the biggest flaw with this team is that they play to the level of their opponent instead of dictating the terms of the game. If they start doing that down the stretch in February into March, leading into the Big Ten tournament, my mood about this team getting into the big dance will start to shift. But as we sit here right now on a Monday afternoon, I got a hard time seeing this team making the tournament this year. And if they don't make the tournament, what does that mean about Bruce Thornton's legacy? We will answer that question, or answer that thought, discuss it after the break. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is a game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more to the score than what's on screen. And this week's moving the game forward is more of a season recap for John Mobley Jr., who showed a lot of promise during his freshman year a year ago. But in year number 2 of the Scarlet and Gray, John Mobley Jr. has consistently gotten better. He's the second leading scorer on the team. He's scoring in different areas. Yes, of course, he's always a threat from downtown, even pushing his range a little bit further back to the logo. But I love his ability to drive to the paint, and being a better defender is making him a better secondary option for the Buckeyes this year. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. We will start filtering in more basketball conversations, more of a midday variety. Get your daily show of Locked On Buckeyes every single day. And that's going to be more of a football heavy show. we got to lean more into basketball. This basketball team is good, is talented, especially if they get closer to Big Ten tournament play and the big dance. We got to give you the Buckeye basketball conversations you want to have. And some of them go about and are focused on Bruce Thornton, who I will say right now is a potential All-American player. His career at Ohio State has been a lot of fun to watch, averaging 19.5 points a game, also 5.3 rebounds a game and 3.6 assists, shooting over 55% from the field. I mean, what more do you want from Ohio State's starting point guard? You want the man to get into the NCAA tournament. Is that too much to ask? To find a man's a 4-year player that could have gone elsewhere to play basketball, to find a way to get him into the big dance, is that too much to ask? It's not too much to ask. The problem is he might end his career at Ohio State and not get to the big dance during his final year in Columbus. That wouldn't be fun. That wouldn't be good. It's a team game, and I don't knock him if he can't get into the NCAA tournament. I don't. The last appearance for Ohio State was in 2022 in the tournament. That was the year before. That was the year before Bruce Thornton got to Ohio State. So from his freshman year to now what is his senior year, he has never, ever played in the NCAA tournament. That's rough. Like, that's a pill I don't want to even think about trying to digest the reality that he might never, ever play in the NCAA tournament. When Chris Holtmann was let go and Jake Diebler was the interim head coach, I'm sure that offseason there were thoughts in Bruce Thornton's head of going elsewhere to play basketball. Sorry. The leaving conversation is generally a heavy football one. But in basketball, same thing. He could have gone elsewhere. If y'all think the football portal is crazy, the basketball one is pretty crazy too. Why? Because players think the grass is always greener on the other side. He didn't leave. He stuck it out. He was at Ohio State. And the next thing you know, he got better and better and better. He had some injuries. He had some wear and tear, but he kept getting better and better. He's 6'2", a bigger body point guard at 215. It's really hard to stop him. You can lean him in down the stretch. He's good. He's a good defender. His communication skills on the defensive end are top notch. I just never thought that you would get a guy at Ohio State like this at a school like the Buckeyes that has this talent and has the ability to get there that wouldn't get to the big dance. It's not his fault. I'll sit there and say that. It's a game where anytime he's on the court, there are 5 other players. While he is a kind of lead guard you want in the tournament that can help lead a team to victory, you can't just have a great lead guard and 4 of the guys that are just average Joes. Amari Bynum isn't just an average Joe. Christoph Chili isn't just an average Joe. I wouldn't say that about Mobley Jr. or Devin Roy. I wouldn't say that about those guys. They're not just average Joes. They're really good basketball players. But like we said in the last segment, the weird thing about this team is that they sometimes allow the other team to dictate the terms of the game, and they can't flip the switch and turn the tide to make sure they are the ones in control. It doesn't look good with the rich history of the Ohio State basketball and how there have been great teams throughout decades and great players throughout decades. It's not a good look, but it's also not his fault. Top 10 all-time at Ohio State scoring. He's going to keep climbing that list. I don't believe he has an opportunity to be number 1, but he's going to keep climbing that list this year. They're going to need him to play big, very, very big, to make the NCAA tournament. I don't know what he can do individually to make the team get there or to help the team get there. The makeup of the team is not one that I think was ever going to be a strong force in Big Ten play. The Buckeyes are training in an area where they are probably going to have a losing record in conference play once again. It's not where you want to be if you're Jake Diebler. It's not where you want to be if you're Bruce Thornton. It's not going to hurt his legacy. Is it a bad mark? 100%. 100%. But you have coaching changes, the worst years of Chris Holtmann, the early years of a first-year head coach in Jake Diebler, that's not a great combination for a guy like Bruce Thornton that desperately wants to play in March in the big dance. But probably will end his Buckeye career never having an opportunity to. Thank you all for tapping into this bonus episode of Locked on Buckeyes. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked on Buckeyes on a Monday. We'll see you next time.